Hi guys, welcome back to Infinite Possibilities, the podcast where we explore the lives of amazing people, their choices, challenges and opportunities. And today I have a very special guest, Bikesh. Hello.
Hello, Karen. Thank you very much for inviting me to your show. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a really big honor to have you on the podcast. Yeah, so Bikesh, what do you do? What's your kind of 1-minute introduction?
So I'm lecturer, assistant professor in Business Information System Group, UQ Business School. So my main research area and teaching relates to business analytics and data analytics.
Yeah. Sounds awesome. So we really want to know how Bikesh became so cool. So we're going to start right from the beginning. So Bikesh, what kind of child were you like growing up? And where were you born?
So I was born in a hospital.
Wow, hospital, yes. No home birth, very good.
Yeah, I was born in Viratnagar. That used to be the second biggest city in Nepal. Now it's fifth biggest city. And I was brought up in Viratnagar, did my school, high school there.
Yeah.
Then I completed my bachelor's from Kathmandu. And after that, I went for abroad studies. I came to Finland in 2009 and did my master's degree, my PhD. And in 2022, I moved to Australia as a lecturer in UQ Business School. So this has been my journey so far.
Wow, the whole life story. And we're going to go and backtrack and take every little step. Definitely. So I want to know more about your personality growing up. Were you a very cheeky child? Were you very inquisitive? Did you love reading? What were your hobbies kind of thing?
Yeah, this I love to speak about,
Yeah.
So I was kind of shy, lacking in confidence.
Yeah.
So I'm not so well-performing student when I was young.
Nice.
So not good with the studies. I didn't know what I was doing or why I was learning. And I started to explore and learn more about myself when I grew.
Yeah.
So when I grew up, so I learned that, okay, mathematics is interesting. I was always interested towards science, general knowledge. And there were some subjects that I never understood why I was learning. But you have to in the school.
Yeah.
And as a child, I was curious actually and had a good memory, at least from what I remember. If I was interested, I would remember.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult for me to get interested in things. That was another issue.
Wow.
And I was a bit kind of angry, outrageously angry.
Wow.
As a child.
Yeah.
Not so disciplined.
Yeah.
And not interested in studying at all.
Wow.
But then it did not mean that I was not interested in reading anything. But mostly like not the course book, definitely. I would read something else. But I used to like reading short stories. Yeah. They would excite me. Novels were too long and boring for me.
Yeah.
I never got habit of reading novels. I lack patience for reading novel.
Yeah.
So as a person, I think I have changed
a lot.
No
longer shy, right?
Yeah, still a little bit shy. more confident than I used to be. And developing habit of reading papers, at least I enjoy that.
Wow, come a long way.
It's gone a long way and still curious. I think I have become more curious as I've grown up.
Yeah. And how did you become less shy? How did you grow in confidence for our audience? How does one become confident like Bikesh?
Yeah. Actually, this is a really interesting question. I used to be in one school when I was until grade 6.
Yeah.
Below average, never performing well, and then I changed school. Suddenly, I found myself doing well. Yeah. And it's almost like a story of like success breeds success.
Yeah.
Once you get start being doing well, then that gives you more confidence, and you start to develop confidence moving forward. And then I need to credit one of my psychology teachers. She taught us psychology in my bachelor's, and she helped me to understand how things work, like how our brain works and how to improve your personality and so on.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And so you said that changing schools was like a turning point for you. Was it that you went from in one school where academics wasn't taken so seriously, and then you went to another one where everyone was really studious, and that kind of like rubbed off on you, or?
Oh, it's exactly opposite. The first school I was, there were like 50 students in class. I was like lingering around mid-average point or below average.
Yeah.
Then I went to a school which was considered downgraded school, like let's say it was considered, but actually it was not.
Yeah.
So I would find myself with the people with like at a similar level like me.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden I could say, okay, I can do well.
Yeah.
So I started doing well, and then also I started trying a lot of things, right, that I didn't try before. Like let's say I never gave any speech or tried debating or writing poems or anything like those kind of competitions. So I started to participate in those competitions when I was in grade 6, and I started to become successful. I started to win those competitions.
Congratulations.
Winning helps. Being successful helps.
Yeah, it feels
Definitely.
good. And you want to, like, once you've got one success, you want the next.
The next, and it goes on like that. And then by the time I was in grade 9, I started participating in quiz contest, and I have won a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So that builds your confidence. Like at least it drives you. It's a hunger.
Yeah, and you have that past backlog of, if I can do this, maybe I can do this.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow, that's so beautiful. You know, you created a new identity for yourself.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I was almost unrecognizable from what I was in the child versus when I like grew up in my adulthood. Like as a person, I transformed quite a bit.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Can I ask you, did you have siblings growing up?
Yes.
Were you the youngest?
No, I was the
oldest.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah. Wow. So not the responsible older brother, no?
Well, I was responsible. It's really difficult to describe my childhood.
Yeah.
Bit reckless, bit careless.
Yeah.
Still, I still lack that eye for details.
Yeah.
Like and fine, but then again, I need to get into my own zone. Once I get that, then I'm really like careful, can get things done. But as I told you, it's the difficulty is to get in that zone. It's not like executing there. It's just being there, starting there.
Yeah. And can I ask you, so like there was you as kind of like the rebel and then didn't care about school, and then you at school also like winning competitions, trying new things. If you were to compare these two versions, was one like happier than the other? Because when you're reckless, so much freedom, right? Or was it kind of like just because of the low self-esteem? And then when you were winning stuff, was it just you were just becoming more like a people pleaser and then getting like the validation from your peers? So were you who like Bikesh 1, Bikesh 2, who was happier?
Actually, to be honest, even then I was doing so well in like quiz and all the thing. Academically, I was still like kind of I will do well only when I care kind of attitude. I would do well when I really wanted to do well. Most of the time I would not want to do, and I developed a lot of confidence that I always knew I can do well if I want to. So that kind of attitude. But again, while I was doing well, like when I was winning, when I was getting some success, it was about how I feel about myself. It was never about validation.
Wow.
It never drove me.
So good.
Yeah. So it all was like I was setting a goal for myself, target, and then achieving that would give me immense satisfaction.
Yeah.
That feeling was unbeatable, and it was never about like what people thought. What they said. It was all about myself.
Yeah, that's kind of awesome because I love how you sort of had like a lot of independence as a kid, as in like if you couldn't convince yourself why you should care, you're not going to care, no matter how much the parents push you. And you're very much your own person, which is very like nice, but it's also probably like hard for your parents, like, oh, that little rebel.
It's a difficult child, right? I would struggle to handle a child like myself. It would be really difficult.
Yeah, and so just kind of wondering, being that kind of reckless, like kind of cool kid, did that make you popular? Like,
I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, because I don't know, I feel like when you're like in primary school, being a rebel does make you kind of cool.
Well, rebel would be like a really kind of outrageously incorrect because I was, as I mentioned, shy, not so outspoken.
Yeah.
And
inner rebel.
would almost go unnoticed.
Yeah. Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And so when you're younger, like in high school, like what did you envision for yourself in terms of career / what did your parents want you to do?
See, in Nepal, like in the developing country especially, everybody wants their children to be a doctor or engineer. When I grew up, when I was young, space really excited me. I thought that I want to be go to space, study about space.
Yeah.
Wanted to be a pilot, and then I thought that maybe that's not for me. When I started like going for high school, I thought that maybe I'll go for engineering, and then at some point of time, I lost interest. And I was not sure about what I want to do after I finished my high school. Then I thought it doesn't matter because as long as you do well, no matter what you do, it's fine.
That's reassuring.
So then I started studying business, and I thought I will do well in business. Then I moved to Finland. I continued to study information systems.
Yeah.
So there was never like one target that I wanted to achieve. It was always a moving target.
Yeah. And why did you choose like business? Did you think it was easy, good grades, or what was kind of the rationale?
So at one point of time, I felt like, I had a very low and bad phase during my high school, +2, where actually I failed in one of the subject, chemistry. Before that, I felt like I would never fail, even if I don't study, because I was too confident I would do well. Then that gave me a life lesson that if you don't work hard, if you're too overconfident,
taking things for granted.
If you start to take things for granted, you are definitely going to fail.
Yeah.
That hit my confidence badly. And if I wanted to go for engineering, I had to wait for 1 year. And
that sucks.
given my mental state, I was not ready to spend another 1 year. I wanted to go into right away, and I was with the thought I can't do anything I want. I will do whatever I will do, but I will do it really well. So it doesn't matter. Then my best friend, he joined business administration, and at that point of time, I had no idea what business administration was.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
It was not well thought of decision or like anything to be proud of.
Yeah, but I mean, you just found a goal and then you just worked towards it. You just kind of randomly picked kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that I have learned, whenever you are making decision, there are two aspects of it. So first thing is that whether you pick a correct one or not, so you can make a mistake. And second thing is that how well you can back up. So sometimes you can say whether the decision is correct or not only after seeing the results. So there are two things that's really important. And I did really bad at the first thing, picking up things mindlessly, but I really did well in the second phase, like while executing it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can correct the course of action later on.
Yeah, but that's so good because sometimes it's more important to just like take the first step. Otherwise, you kind of sit on the fence all day and do nothing.
And the worst decision is something like, you don't pick anything. That's the worst thing you can do.
Yes. Yeah, that's so good. Tell me about the decision to move to Finland. Was that a well thought out decision?
Oh, that was amazingly well thought out decision.
Wow,
Yes,
what
definitely.
a change.
Yeah. So that decision, I really knew what I was doing and what I wanted to do. So I could not afford going to US, and I had no idea like what kind of scholarship you could get, or I only knew about MBA programs. I did not know about master's program. So I lacked enough information to make the right decision.
Given the limited information.
But the information I had is that in Europe there are top university that offers you free educations.
Yes.
And I knew Finland had one of the best schools, Helsinki School of Business, Helsinki School of Economics actually. And I wanted to go there. So when I was in Bachelor's second year, not the beginning of Bachelor's second year, I told myself, I'm going to go to Helsinki School of Economics for my master's. And I thought about it for almost 3 years. Wow. And then I decided to go there. So it was a well thought decision.
Yeah. Wow, and did it meet your expectations? Because you were dreaming about it for 3 years, so you must have built it up to be this grand palace.
Actually, it was. Now I think my first experience of like being in Helsinki School of Economics is like the programs were so different. In Nepal you would be given, say, the semester 1 5 course, semester 2 5 course.
Yeah.
They were like a rigid structure that you would follow, which is easy. Then I was when I was in Helsinki School of Economics, it was almost like being in buffet where you have 200 courses to choose from, and you don't know what to choose and where it leads. So that was the time I realized freedom is difficult to handle. It's freedom means responsibility. Now I am responsible for making a right decision, to pick a right thing, to pick right courses. So I started talking with like professors and everyone, like what course would lead me where, what kind of package, so how to package those courses together. And that was challenging thing. But in terms of meeting expectation, definitely it did. I think it was a wonderful place. I learned a lot of things. There were good courses, good teachers. So at least, and it was free. And
so
the best
good.
part is like it was a free university. And even if it was not free, it's one of the best places to study.
Yeah.
Because I could do a lot of courses and there was no restrictions.
Wow. And so how did you end up choosing your majors for your masters?
I started with information systems major, but the problem was not choosing the major. The problem was choosing the courses, putting together courses. So you would be given 3 streams of the course, and then you have to decide how you put together. So I started to carefully pick course, and I made early mistakes. So I picked a couple of courses that were quite hard, and I could not do well on those courses. I had to drop. Then I said, okay, I will start picking more courses. So I started picking up 8 courses and completing 5 to 6 of those in like one period. And then I completed quite a bunch of courses. The more courses than I would need. Then once I've completed that course, I would know what the course would look like. And then I would pick the right ones to form my majors. So that was my approach.
Oh, wow. So you picked extra courses?
Yes, I did a lot of extra courses.
Wow. Yeah. Just for the love of the pure interest?
Yeah, just to learn, okay, what's that? Okay, does it make sense? Like to include in my major, how does that will look like?
Oh, so were you saying that you try like a lot of different courses and then you drop it before?
Yeah, but then I also completed more courses than I had to for master's program.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. And so you based it just off your interest, not like, because I know like a lot of students and friends, they would, base it off easy grades, but that was never kind of a thought that came in your head.
No. I dropped some of the course because they were too difficult. It's not because at first I felt really bad because I failed, and going into bachelor's, I was already doing well academically and I have developed so much confidence. I felt that if I worked really hard, I would pass virtually any course in the world.
Yeah.
But then shortly when I started my master's, I realized how incorrect I was because there were a lot of things in this world that I would not know. Yeah. And then some of the courses were like, starting in the middle of the road. So where you take one step forward, then you realize you don't know what happened 10 steps backward. And then you have to just review the concepts backward and forward. And it all of a sudden, it blew out of proportion and it was difficult to handle. And then I realized if you don't have a relevant background, it's pretty easy to fail the course. And if you start to take difficult courses, you'll start to fail. So it's not a bad thing. So then I realized you fail not only because you did not work hard or you fail if you try something that is difficult, if you set yourself outside the comfort zone, it's pretty normal to fail. So then, at least then, when I got into that mentality, I started to pick other courses, build my background, started to work on my basics and so on.
Yeah, so almost like playing to your strengths at the end.
Yeah, at the end, yeah. So I never picked a course just because it was easy for a grade or something.
Yeah, whoa, good on you. Yeah. And then tell me about like when did you sort of start thinking about a PhD and decide that maybe this research pathway looks interesting?
Yeah, when I was doing my master's, I was also working in the department as a teaching and research assistant, and I was talking with postdocs and as the professor there, and Ankur Sinha was really instrumental in motivating me for going for PhD. And then I had a friend called Ville. And Ville Halabo, he also motivated me to go for a PhD. And I was thinking about going for a PhD. Then I also thought of joining consulting company. Until I realized that consulting is less of academics, it's more of like executing the templates, and it's more like superficial.
Yeah.
I applied for 10 different jobs and got rejected, and then I was asked, what's your skill? Then I didn't know what a skill I had.
Yeah.
I had a lot of knowledge, but in terms of concrete skill, maybe if I was asked the same question now, I could answer that question really nicely at that time. I had some skill, but I didn't know. Then I realized, okay, I need some hard skill. I need to do something concrete. And it's not just about knowledge, you need more skills. So I thought that, okay, I will go for PhD program, and then I'll go for PhD in quantitative methods so that I will learn some skills. And then that's how I decided to go for a PhD program, because I realized that I was not good enough after finishing master's. Aww. I still need to learn more.
Yeah, and then tell me, how does one survive a PhD?
Persistence.
Was that like, you know, you've done your bachelor's, you've done your master's, was PhD like by far the hardest?
Oh yeah, easily, definitely. Because I think what's the difference between bachelor's and master's is that when you're until a master's student, you work in a concrete problem, right? Yeah. You start, your problem is well defined, you work in like a very, concrete space where you have a defined problem, you need
very structured already.
But when you go into PhD program, it's a little bit unstructured. You work in abstract space. You start from finding problem, and then so you don't know what is the problem, and then you are trying to look for the solution, and then also make sure that both problem and solution are compatible and they make sense. It requires a different cognitive capabilities. You need to be able to work with abstract things, be more creative. It's a different kind of skill than what you need in master's degree, and be more creative, improve your in-depth understanding, and that takes some training and some work. And during the PhD program, I think my colleagues and friends were really, really helpful just for showing me the right way, right direction. It's the thought process that is difficult, and it takes time.
Yeah, and then how do you come up with the title, with the question of what you want to answer? Do the teachers, lead you, and then you sort of go from there, or because it starts like, you don't know what you're going to write your thesis on?
So it's almost like, think about this. Writing paper is like, we want to build a road.
Yeah.
We say that, okay, let's build a beautiful road that connects the two beautiful villages. Then you start to find what is two beautiful villages, where are they, what kind of road, how long is that road, and so on. So you start with a broad area of some idea. You start with an idea that is broader, and you relate to problem, and then you start to understand the problem in deeper, then you start to look for a solution, and that's how research works. And sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because after all, at the end of the day, it's a research, right? You might get some solution that is not as per expectation, or that doesn't tell you anything about the problem.
Yeah, that would be really sucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is PhD a really lonely journey?
If only you make it. It's not actually. So if you are good with if you're social, if you can communicate with your peers, your colleagues, and then you need to have really good support, then it's not lonely at all. But the thing is that at the end of the day, the problem you're dealing is with you. The problem you're trying to solve is yours, and you need to work really well. And even though you work in a team, you need to have that ability to work independently.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why people think it's like a lonely job, but it's actually not.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that, when you're doing a PhD, you're doing something so niche that, like, even if you, like, try to tell your friends, they wouldn't really understand what you're doing. Like, you're just kind of invested in your work, doing a very, finding something very niche that no one understands.
So actually, I would disagree a little bit on that one, because you're working with the people, those are really smart. Those people are really smart. Yeah. They do understand the broader research context. What does it mean?
But it's mainly your supervisor that understands.
Yeah. And then, but again, if you talk with any researcher, they might not give you in-depth or like detailed idea, but they do understand what you are talking about. Yeah. And then there will be other colleagues or postdocs who are in the same department, at least who have some kind of understanding of that. But don't expect somebody to give you solution on your hand. Yeah. You need to work on that.
Yeah. Cool. And then you also talked about, working as a research assistant, and then later you graduated to working as a researcher. So how was that kind of transition?
Research assistant is your job. You just do what you are told.
Yeah.
And as a researcher, then you decide what to do. You also decide what you need to do.
Wow, it sounds like, master's to PhD transition.
Exactly.
It's kind of the same, hey?
Almost same.
Yeah. And then what about being a postdoctorate researcher?
Well, that's not a big transition from being PhD student, to be honest. At least not in my case. So it's just a continuation of what you were doing. So it's more like after PhD, if you need more time to complete your paper, to gain more experience before you land your academic job, the postdoc is almost like a breeze in between PhD to academic job. Well, academic job is a big jump. That's a massive jump.
Yeah.
But the postdoc to PhD is almost like, at least I did not feel much of a difference. The only difference was I was more relaxed, less nervous because I've already completed PhD.
Yeah.
The sword is not hanging above your head.
Yeah.
And you already have the degree and everything.
Yeah.
It's more relaxing, more pleasant.
Oh, so it's like without the pressure of PhD, pretty much.
Yeah. You're doing the same thing or like even more, but without the pressure of like getting the dissertation out or like the uncertainty.
Yeah. And, when you were a postdoctorate researcher, were you sick of doing research at this point? Or were you like, oh my gosh, more research?
Well, if that was the case, I would be in the industry already.
Yeah, so how does one keep loving research?
So you keep on working on different ideas, different papers. So it's more about like, keeping yourself. It's more about being curious about the problem and the solution.
Yeah.
So that's how you keep on taking. You're interested in research, and remember that each research project is different. Each research project comes with different sets of challenges. And different set of problems. So you just keep on continuing working on that.
Always something to learn.
But think about that. That's the same case in most of the job, right? You do the similar thing every day, and you still keep yourself motivated. And I think compared to the industrial job, it's easier to keep yourself motivated, at least in research, because you're working on different kind of problems, and you keep on moving from there, and you learn more about the problem, more about the domain each year.
Yeah.
So that like each time you work in a paper, you learn something new.
Yeah. Wow. Cool. And then tell me about the move to Australia and how that happened.
Oh yeah, that's a big move, and I never thought of like coming to Australia.
Yeah.
And I was in Hawaii Hicks conference, and my friend Tapani came and told me, hey, we have a job opening in our department. Why don't you apply for it? And then I got another email from one of my thesis examiner. He said that there's opening in Australia in University of Queensland, and you should apply for that one. And same afternoon, I met my thesis advisor, Matti Rossi, and he said that there's an opening in UQ Business School. It's good for you. And then I decided to apply for the job, and I had a chat with Martin Rissis, and he was here. And that's how I applied for the job. And then I had an interview, which went pretty well.
Wow.
And COVID happened.
Oh no.
So it was and there was a bit of a period of uncertainty because of COVID. And I signed a work contract in May 2020 or something like that. Then we had to wait for a while before coming here. It was a massive move, not an easy one.
Yeah.
But finally, I'm here.
Yeah, that's so awesome. But that's awesome that as soon as you heard about this opportunity in Australia, you were like so down for it. You were just so interested. You didn't have that fear of moving to a new country and all that different uncertainty. Were you scared?
Actually, I was never scared of moving to a different place, new place.
Yeah.
So I wanted to explore.
You were hungry.
Place, and wanted to see actually, and what I always felt is if you're mobile, it helps in your growth. It moves you outside your comfort zone. You are forced to learn new things, and then you grow as a person. Yeah. So I was always excited about moving to a new place. And then I had my colleague like Tapani, whom I already knew from my master's. So it was an easy decision.
Yeah. It's so much better when you like have a friend here already.
Yeah, definitely. It makes a massive difference.
Yeah, that's so cool. And then tell me about the day in the life working for UQ. Like how many courses do you teach, and then like how do you sort of do your research and then also do the teaching and etc.
Yeah, in UQ I teach 3 different courses. Like you teach 3 courses per year. And then last year I taught in both semesters, but this year I'm trying to teach most of the courses already in the first semester so that I have more time for research.
Yeah.
Is compared to being a postdoc or a PhD student, it's more challenging to find time for research when you are in academic position, because you are no more just a PhD student. You are dealing with multiple things. You need to supervise people. Then you have you need to supervise thesis, master's thesis or PhD thesis, and then you need to be involved in a lot of service roles, work with service role, and then you have course to teach, take care of, and so many things going on. And
so many things that distract you from research.
Yeah, and then then you have moved to new country, new place where you have bunch of things that you need to learn.
Yeah.
There are different things that you need to take care of. Like my first few months, I was not productive in research at all. I felt like a dartboard where the arrows are coming from all different directions, which you have to take care. But then slowly I started to settle down, and then I think getting time for research is becoming easier. And now I'm trying to separate a block of time, at least for research, that time just focusing on my research and doing I don't want to do any other things at that time. So you need that to progress in research. And yeah, it's challenging, at least compared to how it was when you're a doctoral student or like a postdoc student.
Yeah, so many things to juggle.
Yeah, definitely. It requires the task ability to juggle multiple things, and the most challenging thing is for making a transition from one work to another work. So when you're working on multiple paper, so it does have some cost, like cognitive cost.
It does.
You need to be in one zone for one paper, and then suddenly be ready for the teaching, and then after that, and then you have series of meetings and so on to take care.
Yeah, that's so true. It's kind of like restarting the car each time.
Yeah, definitely.
To get in the zone, there's like that 5-10 minutes before you know what you're doing.
True.
Yeah, and so do you have like a preference in terms of like the teaching side of things or more the research? Everyone has a sort of natural inclination to what they like a bit more.
I would prefer research. Like definitely, I like teaching also, but if I have to choose one, I'll be more inclined towards research.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. And then, how do you sort of plan your day? Because do you have a lot of flexibility as a lecturer?
Yes, our work arrangement is pretty flexible. Yeah. So it's almost like we say this. You work. It's really flexible. You work like maybe 40, 60 hours a week. But then you choose what 60 hours you want to work, or like what 40 hours you want to work. But then it can be flexible, but you still need to be disciplined. And then someday you end up working more than the regular work hours.
Yeah. And how do you sort of like plan your day? Like, are you someone who likes to, I don't know, do all your teaching in the morning and then have the afternoon, or are you an early bird, or are you a night owl? How do you design it?
This is a good question. I would not call myself early bird, and I'm not night owl either.
Wow, normal person.
So almost like a normal. But then again, regarding teaching and research, we don't get. At least I haven't had the opportunity to choose, because most of my courses are during daytime. At least I would prefer them to be like sometime in the evening. But then again, when you're teaching two courses, then you have a tutorial to teach. So that definitely doesn't fit into your time slot. But then in terms of research, I feel like I'm more productive during the morning or in the late afternoon. So that's where I feel more productive.
Yeah, that's cool. And then let's talk a bit more about your research interest. So how would you describe what your research interest is?
So in my PhD program, I started with, as I mentioned earlier, with the goal of learning tools and techniques and methods started to attract me quite a lot, the quantitative methods, and I started to learn methods. And in my PhD program, I started to apply these methods in different contexts. So it's more like my research interest started from methodological applications, like where we can apply. So I started with working with the text data, and then I still find like quite interesting to apply the text analytics methods, like how you can apply these tools in different contexts for different kind of research. And then whenever I see, it's more like I think of in terms of data and methods. But nowadays I've started to learn that it's more about like the phenomena or problem. That's more interesting, and you need to learn those be more mindful of like what kind of problem you're addressing and what area you're looking into. And it's not just methods and data, but it's more about like overall bigger picture. So I have started to look into social media analytics domain mostly. So now my research are focused on there. And then I have another stream of research that's called science of science. It's almost like applying natural language processing tools for like analyzing scientific literature and text data. So those are the two research streams that I'm working on right now. And then there are friendly projects where you have friends and people you like, and you just want to collaborate with them.
Yeah, that's cool. So we're nearly at the end of the podcast. Just a few more quick questions. So the deep question that you've been dreading. Bikesh, what do you think the meaning of life is in your opinion?
That's a really good question. The day I know this meaning of life, I would be a very good philosopher. So I would give a good competition to the Greek philosophers.
But what about Bikesh right now, 2023?
It's a good question, you know. If you start to think what is life, it's really hard to put. But now how I see is like, you know, life is like, you know, it's moving in travelator. You go in one direction. No matter if you want, if you don't want, it keeps on moving. And there's a fixed starting point, fixed ending point, and then it's all about what you can do in between, just to keep yourself engaged and feel good about yourself, adding value to the society, or having some kind of achievement, working to achieve something, or whatever drives you. So it's more about like, it's between the starting and ending point. When you're in travelator, it's all about keeping yourself happy, content, and then you should feel good about yourself when everything ends.
Oh, that's beautiful. And do you have any advice for your younger self / any regrets?
Oh yes, I had a lot of breaks and gaps in my education career. I wish I was smarter in picking up things, and more proactive. Let's say, I would say more proactive, and that's all. You see, I usually try to think and then correct myself already over the course of time, because I always keep on reflect and think what I should have done better, or where I could have done better. But then I wish I would be more productive and more disciplined.
I think all of us do. That's cool. So Bikesh, if you won the lottery tomorrow and finances were not a concern, what would you do differently about your life? What would you change?
Yeah, definitely. Look, if I win a lottery and I don't have financial constraint, I might take a week off just to think what to do with that money.
You would.
Because you need to spend it wisely, right? The first thing that comes to my mind is that I would keep in fixed deposit and then just start working with, you know, for 1 year fixed deposit, work on interest, and then plan everything what to do with that money. That's cool. At least I would not be tempted to spend it right away.
You want to, you know, have a sit down and think before you get too excited. Sounds good. And the final question is, what is an ideal day in the life for you? It can be work related, it can be non-work related, etc.
The best ideal day in my life is that when I get up in the morning, I feel really good. I had a good sleep. Feel fresh. Strong coffee in the morning. Definitely. And more productive work, like in the first half of the day. And let's say a beautiful evening spent with my family, talking to a friend, and going out for dinner with my wife and spending evening with her, with family, and like spending time with family. That would be my ideal day. I would be really like work for shorter hour but be extremely productive. And then spend more time with families and friends and do things like you love. Just have a half an hour, 1 hour window for sports. That's all.
That's awesome. Hope you get to do that soon.
Yeah.
So we're at the end of the podcast. Want to say bye?
Yeah. Thank you, Karen, and bye. See
Thank
you. Maybe
you.
in another podcast sometime.
A follow up. Comment down below, right? Okay. Bye.
Bye.